this thing.
Excellent. Hello and welcome to episode 80.
Yay!
Yay! This is building a U-shaped business with Georgie and Patty.
I'm Georgie.
And I'm Patty. Um, we are silly this morning. and maintaining a sunny, positive attitude despite the fact that it is raining, both in Vancouver and here in not so sunny Prince Rupert, British Columbia.
Cloudy
So
Prince Rupert.
welcome, and I'm going to let my partner take it away with the slides and the presentation. And I understand there's cake.
Cake. There's cake.
There's cake.
Okay.
Virtual cake, anyhow.
There's virtual cake.
Yes. 80th is definitely cake worthy. In fact, I think that the 80th wedding anniversary, the gift is cake. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure of that. It ought to be.
Who knew? That's what it should be. Exactly. Oops. Okay. Today we are going to talk about how to fit your business into your life so that it's not all work and no play. Let's see if my thingy works. There we go. So my quote of the day is to create your business around your life instead of settling for your life around your business. That is our theme of the day. Something I am very, very much passionate about is building this business that's going to support the life that you really want. I do believe they go together quite well, actually. And so my permission slip is that you have permission to create your own business model. So you can get creative, think outside the box, start to, when you're thinking about building your business, create it in a way that really works for you based on the life that you want. Often I think, excuse me, I need more cake, clearly. Sometimes we can get stuck into thinking there's only a certain way to do things or there's a right way to do things. And that's not necessarily true. So if you tend to be a little more creative and like to think out of the box, here's your permission slip for kind of doing things your own way if you so choose. So I'm going to, like I say, use a lot of cake analogies today. So when I was thinking about creating, your business and fitting this into kind of the life that you really want, there's kind of a recipe for this. So when I looked up recipes, a recipe is really just a set of instructions for making something from various ingredients or something that is likely to lead to a particular outcome. So in this case, we're thinking of, I have this life that I really, really want, and I have this business that I really, really love. So how do I put them together? How do I fit this business into my life? So we're going to have a little bit of instructions here to see if we can get to the outcome that we want. Now, the first thing we have to decide is what kind of cake do we want to make? So before we can, get the right ingredients and start to put this recipe together, we have to decide what is it that we really want. So in this case, the cake is you and it's your life. So what kind of life do you really, really want? Who are you? And just as a side note, all of the cakes featured in this slideshow are made by my son's girlfriend. So I think they're beautiful. So you're going to get a dose of her work too. And she's super creative. So maybe you are, maybe you love to read. Maybe you like to spend your time with some dragons. I don't really know. Maybe you're more fluffy and blue and you like doing other different kinds of things. But who are you? What really matters to you? So the ingredients that we need to build this business that's going to fit into your life there's 3 of them. You need to know what's your mission, what really, really matters to you, and then what model are you going to use to bring this thing out into the world. So let's start with your mission. For those of you who know me, you know what's coming. We always want to start with why. What is that cause, purpose, or belief that's really going to inspire you to do whatever it is that you want to do? What's the contribution and the impact that you want to make in your version of the world? And that could be the whole great big entire world, That could be your city, your community, or your home. It doesn't have to be something so huge, and it can be something small, but you get to choose where you want to have that contribution and impact. And what really pulls you? What is that thing that, you'd love to be able to put it down sometimes, and you just can't? It just keeps coming back. It's that thing that you're like, oh, I need to get this out there. And I think for a lot of us who are really purpose driven, we feel this pull. It's almost like something that we have to do. And I think that's why it's so important to figure out, how do we take this business that we feel just really drawn to do and actually fit it with our life? Because sometimes it can seem overwhelming, like we have to make a choice. Like, oh, I really want my life over here, but I just can't seem to put this thing down. So how do I make it work? But we first have to get really clear on, what is that thing? What are the words that I can put to my mission or my purpose or my why? And often there's a challenge in that articulation. We feel it and we know it, but we don't know how to say it. So we want to get really clear on what that is. And sometimes if you're confused and you kind of have that feeling, but you're not really sure what it is, a lot of times this has probably been with you for a very, very long time. Like, start to think about, what are the things that you get on a soapbox about? What are the things that you will actually start to debate about? What are some of those things that you're just, I will not stand for that or tolerate that? Sometimes those are clues as to what your mission or purpose might be. In all of the kind of the why discoveries that I've done over the last 5 or 6 years, there's often a common thing that shows up. And sometimes, a lot of the time actually, it's from, if you were to think about kind of the most traumatic event in your life, there's probably some clues in there. Because I often think that when we overcome some of our biggest challenges or some of our biggest kind of moments of suffering, there's clues in that when we transform that or transcend that into, it makes it part of our mission or our purpose. I would say probably 8 out of 10 times there's clues in that for you. And it doesn't have to be, often we think of, when I say something traumatic, we think of kind of like a big trauma kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a big trauma, but something that for you just really, really stands out, where you're like, that thing. That, I never want anyone to feel like that or go through that or have that experience. I would rather have this. Sometimes I can give you a clue as to what your mission in the world might be. The next thing we want to look at is, what really matters to you. What do you really care about? And part of this is about your values. So getting really, really clear on what your core values are, because these become the guiding principles for you and for your life. When you have those, we want to turn them into verbs. We want to make them actionable, because when our values are actions, we know what to do. We know the steps to take every day. We can look at things and go, does this fit or does it not fit? But I'm really clear about what matters to me. And then I like to run them through the yes or no test. So for me, that means if I have one of my verbs or my values, so for me, let's just take my top one, which just happens to be love, like is on this beautiful little cookie. To me, my action for that is I create environments where people feel like they matter. So at the end of the day, I can say, today, did I create environments where people felt like they mattered? Yes or no? For some people, like if you have honesty, it might be to tell the truth. Did I tell the truth today? Yes or no? Or in this situation or in this interaction with people. If you can get your verbs and your values to really clear sentences where you can just say yes or no, it's so much easier. Again, it takes some time to get these things down to really simple kind of sentences, but it's really important if you can do that. I actually had a meeting with someone yesterday who was going through this process. He's like, hey, can I just run these by you? And I was like, here's the easiest way to see if you've got it down is, can you say yes or no? If your team reads this or your participants read this, can they look at these and really quickly either yes or no, I did it or I didn't do it? How does it fit? The next thing is, what are the things that you really, really love to do in your life? The things that bring you joy, the things where time just kind of floats by and you feel like you're really in flow. What are those things? And then you hear me talk a lot about buckets. Like, what are the buckets of your life? What are those areas that are the most important to you? So maybe it's your family, maybe it's giving back, maybe it's your health or adventure, maybe you like learning, maybe your financial stuff is really important to you right now. And the thing about all of these things is it's what's important to you right now. Because I really believe that as we go through different stages of our life, like right now, you might have small kids. So the things that are really important to you are going to be different than someone whose kids are grown and moved out. Maybe you're really focused on your health right now. So it's really important to know where you are right now. What are the things that matter to you now as you're building this? Because I believe that these things can change and we can shift how we do our business and how we do our work as our life progresses. I know, like I used to, when my kids were little, how I did my business was very different than how I do it now with them grown and gone. At one point when I had my space in US, that was awesome. I loved that. I didn't mind being somewhere every day, 5 days a week. Now things are a little different. Now I'm like, no, I want a little more freedom. I want some more flexibility. I want to, when we can, go on some more adventures and things like that. So I need to make a shift. But this is the brilliant thing, I think, about kind of having this U-shaped business and looking at what kind of life do I want so that I can shift my business model to fit that. And it doesn't mean that there's not work involved here and that we just kind of sit back and go, I can do whatever I want. Not quite like that. Like, I think there's always, there's work involved in things that we have to do. And sometimes we have to do those things that we might not love as much. But when we're driven by that bigger purpose, that bigger why, we know what our values are, even those things are easier to do. You know, we get to even the kind of the yuckier tasks. We get to that point where I'm in acceptance to do that. And I can actually do it with a little gratitude because I know where it's going. So this comes to our model. So maybe you want, you know, this big triple layer cake. Maybe you want a tiny cake. Maybe you want cookies. Maybe you want cupcakes. But you can have whatever's going to fit for you. But it's often, I think we do this the opposite way, where we'll go into it, we'll think, okay, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to do in-person sessions. I'm going to do 5 days a week. I'm going to have this many clients. And we haven't even thought about, well, what kind of life do I want? How's this going to fit into that? We just kind of, this is what they say. They say I should create an online course. They say I should create, you know, an in-person course. They say I should do this. But you haven't actually thought about the model that would really fit for you and the life that you want. So first off, how much money do you need to support this life? That's a really, really important question. And often, I don't think we spend enough time here either, because we'll either go, $1 million ought to cover it, when really, if we looked at our lifestyle, we might only need like 50 grand. Who knows, right? Like, it just depends. So I think it's important to actually spend time here looking at what is important to me, what is the lifestyle that I want right now and a little bit in the future, to determine how much money do I need this business to make, because there's certain models that are going to work better depending on the amount of money you need. How much time do you have, or how much time are you willing to invest in this? If you have a small children running around, or it's really important to you, maybe daycare is not an option for you. I don't want to do that. I want to raise my kids. Okay, then you need to be really honest with yourself about how much time am I willing to put in this? Is this maybe just going to be a part-time thing? And that's quite okay too. But being really honest with how much time do you actually have, and are you willing to put into it? Because you're going to have to give something up. So you've got to look at, what am I willing to, to not do to be able to do this? And again, this comes back, when you love what you're doing a lot, it makes it a lot easier. But I know for me, when my kids were little, I homeschooled my kids. I was not willing to give up missing any of their kind of sporting events or school events. So I had to shift how I did things around that because it was important to me and I was willing to do that. What do you love to do? Do you love teaching? Do you love speaking? Do you love being online? Like, what are the things that you actually love to do? Because oftentimes I think sometimes we're like, oh, well, I'm going to create an online course and I'm going to teach people. And we haven't even thought, do I even like teaching people? Do I like creating content? Would I rather not have, any interaction with people at all? Would I rather just create something and throw it up online and let them do it themselves? But what are the things that you really love to do? Maybe you're someone who, like, if you like bookkeeping or something, maybe you just love data and putting in, numbers and things like that, and less interaction with people. Maybe you love people. So something that's maybe has a lot of in-person kind of interaction. Maybe you love traveling. How can I put traveling into what I do? But really kind of think about what are the things that you're going to enjoy doing every day, like for now. And what's your personality, right? We often get into this thing around, am I introverted? Am I extroverted? Do I follow through really well? Am I more of an ideas person? Am I great at getting things started, but I suck at actually finishing them? I think really knowing where your strengths are and just how you show up in the world is going to make it a lot easier when you're starting to create the model that's going to work for you. Because often we try to fit ourselves into a box that is so tight. We're just like, oh my God, I can't do it. And we're just fighting against ourselves because someone told us that's how it should be. It doesn't have to be. And then again, what stage of life are you at? Are you, little kids grown, single, looking for a mate? I don't know, but where are you in your life right now? And you can always build a new cake. At any given point, you can decide that, I think I just want a new cake right now. I want something totally different. It's always an option. And I think, we talk a lot about this kind of experimenting and trying things, and you don't have to get so stuck in something that when it's not working, and I mean like really not working, that you have to stay there, because you don't. Life can shift and life can change, and you can decide, I want a new cake. And then we just change our model. I don't think your purpose is going to change. I doubt your values will, but that little model can change. So I wanted to share some examples of people who have businesses that they've really created and built that fit into their life and what's really important to them. So these are my friends, Mikey and Randy, and they have a company called Team Wolverine Athletics, which is a running company. And so when they first started this company, Mikey was working, they live on the Sunshine Coast. Mikey was working here in Vancouver. Randy wasn't working. And Mikey loves running. Randy does a little bit of running, but because of her health, she can't. So they started this company on the Sunshine Coast to do races. So they do 5Ks, 10Ks, endurance races, those kinds of things because they love running. Now, if you look at this, right, their values are kind of there in what they believe. Firm believers that if you can move one foot in front of the other in a forward motion, then you are a runner. I hired Mikey to be my coach because I wanted to be a runner, and I'm like, that's me, I'm just getting started. So they started this, then COVID hit, all their races for 2020 canceled, no income. However, they're passionate about this, they love this. So Mikey works a job in Vancouver, Randy works a job on the Sunshine Coast, and they're rebuilding this thing on the side because they are pulled to do it. It's something they can't not do. They love the community, they love nature. They are out there cutting trails and, refurbishing the trails on the Sunshine Coast. It's part of who they are. This is what they do for fun. Their life is built around this. And they've built a community of people who believe what they believe, who show up, you know, and they're willing to put in whatever it takes to make this thing work because it fits their life so well. The next one is an organization called Youth Empowering Youth. And these guys, this thing had been a vision for such a long time, and they were wondering, how can we empower youth to give them life skills and financial skills? And their whole thing was about really helping to empower youth to actually empower themselves to then teach each other. So they finally got going, and they were in one school here in Vancouver. They got into a school, they were doing their little pilot project, was going really well, and other people were asking, you know, how can we get this in other schools? And COVID hit. So then they're like, okay, we can't do this in person anymore. And they went online. Now, because they went online, it opened them up to a market way bigger than they thought. And I was just meeting with one of the founders yesterday, and they actually have this teaching, it's being taught in Liberia right now. And so their funding model, while the courses are free for the kids, so they have more of a fundraising model. So they've been getting grants and funding like that supports this thing so that they can do their mission to educate and empower and inspire youth to be the leaders of tomorrow. And their initial vision was to build this global community where there really weren't kind of boundaries, where the youth could connect all over the world. And because of COVID, they've actually been able to do that faster. And both of the founders of this company, they still have they have their own businesses outside of this. They work in other ways to make money because this is kind of a passion thing that's really started to take off. Now they have funding, now they're able to pay, they have like a one support staff that they pay, and then the money is put back into the kids. This is a model though that really works for them. It fits their vision and their purpose and what they feel they are here on the planet to do. When they volunteer with organizations that either might be bring in funding or allow them to bring in more kids into their organization. Their lives are centered around this. And so they found a way to just fit this into how they show up every day. This one I just heard about yesterday, actually. It's called Detroit Dirt. And Passion Murray, this was not an original business she sort of set out to create. However, she is absolutely passionate about recycling and sustainability and waste deduction and reusing things and building a healthy planet and all of those kinds of things. And so she started this in Detroit. She's actually started a thing where they would start recycling the food scraps, like we do here in Vancouver, I think a lot of Canada. They weren't doing that there. So she put that initiative forward, got it approved, whatever, and then she ended up with composting it all, had dirt. So then she started selling the dirt. So she's literally making dollars from dirt, you know, and I'm sure she didn't sit down one day and go, you know, I think I'm going to sell dirt. Selling dirt sounds like a really great business idea. I think I'm going to build a business on dirt. I'm certain that didn't happen, but she's passionate. Her why or her purpose, right, is to build this more sustainable, healthy planet. So she's following that, and through doing that, she's created this business that actually fits into her life. She goes around speaking. She could talk all day long and educate people on sustainability and waste reduction and, you know, how this would improve our world. It's very much a part of her life and who she is. So this business is just kind of an extension of what she loves to do. And I think that's probably the biggest message for most of us here today is that, you know, what is that thing that you love so much that we can build our business to fit into that? Like, what is it? Because I believe it's super possible, you know, and it may look like a part-time thing to start. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, depending on where you are. Maybe you do have a job while you're building this thing up. Totally okay. Not a problem, you know? And eventually, this thing could grow into something that fully supports you. But I think it's so much easier to do when this business fits into your life, fits into what really, really, really matters for you. instead of just for the sake of, I need to make some money, so I think I'm going to be an entrepreneur, so let me see what kind of company I can build. Definitely works for some people. Like we talked about this on the one call, you know, about being kind of market. Am I building this for a market, or is this something I'm kind of doing more for me? And I think for most of the people that we work with within the U-shaped business, it's a bigger purpose behind it. So how do we take that and have it fit with who we are and what we want and what our life looks like? Because, you know, at the end of the day, I think when our numbers up, we're looking at what kind of life did I have? It wasn't like, oh, could I have spent more time in my office, or could I have made, you know, a few more $100,000s or whatever. I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think it's about, how do I spend my time doing the things that really matter? And I think part of what matters is this purpose, making a difference, having an impact through our business. So these are just some examples of that, some ingredients, and maybe you don't even want to be a cake. You could be a cake pop. But the most important parts of all of this are to really take some time and be like, you know, who are you? What do you stand for? What really, really matters to you? What kind of life do you actually want? And then what kind of business will actually support that kind of life for you? So if you spend some time just kind of thinking about these questions and going through them, and this is what we're going to talk a lot about in our workshop on the 3rd and 4th. We're going to dive into these things where you can come out of that and go, yeah, that's who I am. That's really what matters to me. These are my buckets. These are my values. You know, here's kind of the direction I want to go. And then what does my shape look like? What would that U-shaped business really be? So if you're joining us for that weekend, I will guide you through a lot of this, as will Patty. So we'll make it easier for you. You can decide if you're a cake or a cookie or cake pop or whatever you want to be. So that's pretty much my blurb for the day. Any questions, thoughts, comments? Let's see, I've got a Facebook one. So important for us business owners to look at our business differently so that it fits into our life, not the other way around. Agreed.
And you know, this is kind of, it's the essence of a U-shaped business, is that we start with this inside stuff. What do we want? What is the mission? How do we want to, you know, what are we here to do? It's kind of like answering the call,
Exactly.
in a way. And because there's a note in the comment here, but we have to create a business to serve others. And that's true too.
Yes.
This is the primary difference between a U-shaped business and a market-driven business, is that a U-shaped business starts with you, then you figure out what the market is. A market-driven business starts with the market, and then you do whatever you think people want. That's the primary difference. You still have to make your marketing about the market. You still have to do market research. You still have to create a product or a service and sell it in a way that your market understands it. It's kind of like when you're inventing the business, putting it together, making the plan, deciding what you want, creating your own personal parameters and values and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. That's totally focused on you. But the minute you decide to put that out in the world, we flip the script and it is all about the clients. Like, it has to be.
Exactly.
And that's why we talk about having a bridge, because sometimes you need to have a bridge between your mission and what people will buy. This is what we do here. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think you'll find too, whenever you look at kind of your why and your purpose, most likely it involves other people. It involves because you want to do something that's going to impact other people. And then we start looking for, who are those people? Who are those people that have the problem that I can solve? You know, and like Patty says, yeah, then it becomes all about them.
Yeah.
It's an and. As in everything we do, it's an and. But
it's
until
an and.
And if I think though, if you start out and you're like, oh, I'm just going here because this person needs that and I'm going to help that, and that's not even something that you care about, it's not going to be sustainable. You'll do it for a little while, but it's not going to fill you up, and you won't sustain it for long.
It is. It is really, really, really difficult to sustain the energy to do something you don't really want to do. And when you discover that you don't really enjoy doing what you want to do, it becomes very, very, very hard to sell it. You may find yourself sabotaging sales. Ask me how I know. It's just, when you go into it going, oh, I don't really want to do this thing, it's really hard. And there's a difference when something lights you up from the inside, makes it way, 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 way easier to sustain that energy, even through the down times, because I swear that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. It's just like, you may be on top of the world, this is my cake and I love it, one day, and then it's like, oh crap, cake again.
That cake just fell. Kabam!
Kabam, right?
Exactly. It's like, I think of it, it's kind of like, if your friend asks you to help them move, you're like, okay, yeah, sure, love to help you move. No one likes moving. But if you had to help your friend move every day, you'd be like, hell no.
I'm gonna contradict that. I'm gonna contradict that because of the movers that we had. We did the like move yourself with a U-Haul truck thing,
Yeah.
and then we got old, and we're like, no. We just look around and we're like, we don't have a lot of furniture, but it's awkward, and it was one of those things with the movers and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we got movers, like just freelance movers, not a moving company movers. This was like a couple of guys that hired themselves out as movers, right?
Yeah.
Holy crap, they were so good at it. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Like the one guy had more experience. I think he was like the guy that owned the company. And he comes in and it's like, he looks at the door, he looks at this monstrosity, stupid couch we had with the two things or whatever, right? And he's guiding the person onto like how you put it on the dolly. They had to move it around some really weird angles in the place and around the door. And I'm looking, it's not going to go, it's not going to go, it's not going to go. And it's like, shh. And quickly, it's like I couldn't believe how quickly they're just kind of like playing Tetris and out the door. Those guys loved moving.
Yes.
You can't get that good at it by not loving it, right? And I think part of it is because they were in their own business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes having that kind of freedom, it's like I had a house cleaner that, was so proud of her vacuum cleaner and so excited about it. And she just loved the before and after of actually cleaning. I think sometimes we look at the stuff that we don't like doing and we think nobody would love it. But I'm pretty sure those movers liked it.
If you love it. I'm thinking, I had a moving company and we were really, really, really good at it. And
you didn't love it?
I didn't love the moving. What I loved was the people. I loved, because we worked in the elderly market, I loved helping those people. When I had to do the moving, not so much.
There's a case of that's. If you had done this youth thing that you talked about, the cake recipe, moving wouldn't have shown up on your cake recipe. Like the actual physical moving wouldn't have.
No, it wouldn't have.
But for Tetris sofa guy, I'm thinking that maybe it might have.
Yeah. I can do that. I like doing that. Yeah. It's the actual, and it's one of those things, if the staff didn't show up or we needed extra hands, I moved. Like, that's just the way it is.
And I think too, we don't want to kind of paint this as that you're going to love everything in your business.
No.
But I think you can find a lot of alignment in what you do, and including what you do for sales and marketing and how you approach that to bring more of
Exactly.
this like cake recipe in. It's kind of like adding a little sugar to it.
Yeah, a little sugar, a little some eggs, whatever you need. You know, what kind of flour are you going to use? Maybe you're gluten free. You need some gluten free flour. I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
it's what's the one that that works for you? Yeah. So, but yeah, I love it because it is. It's the and right.
Yeah.
It's the and.
It's the end.
Always start here, and then if it yeah if you get too selfish, that's not going to work either. That's for sure. I see a question in the question box. Could I get a copy of the slides? Oh, sure.
We have a
We put them somewhere.
there's questions um, about the workshop. I'll go there
Oh,
in
cool.
just a second, but um, this idea that there are people who love just about everything imaginable. I wouldn't have believed that that was true at one point, right? But like that conversation I had with my house cleaner changed my world. It was just like I could not believe she was so excited about that vacuum cleaner, like
Yeah.
so excited. And then she started talking about how much she loved her job and how much she loved the before and afters. It's like I hate cleaning. It is probably like the number one thing. Like I hate it. I hate it. I have allergies. I have asthma. It makes me can't breathe. It's just it literally makes me sick, and it also is just like I hate it. And I could not imagine that anybody would do that unless they absolutely had to. And here she was like talking about she loved the people, she loved helping the people, she loved the responses she got from people, but she loved the before and after. She was just, I love the before and after. She said it drives me nuts when people clean before I show up, because then I don't get the before and after. They rob me of the before and after. She's like, my favorite one is like the parents with the 3 kids, they grind the Cheerios into the carpet and they leave their dishes on the table and the place is a wreck. She says, I love that job. I feel like I'm really making a difference in their world, and I get this before and after, and it's just like I love it. And it's just like, man. But she loved the freedom. She loved setting her own hours. She loved being in the house by herself. She loved blasting her music into her headphones while she did the cleaning. And it's just like it just made her happy. And it was just like, and you can't fake that happiness. She wasn't talking, she was as
No.
excited talking about her cleaning as I am
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's just, and I married a guy who worked in a sawmill, and I'm like, man, how can somebody work in a sawmill every day? It's like you watch boards go by, you stack lumber, right? But he loved his job, and he was just like, I love it. He says, I get to be outside. He says, it's physical. All these stupid people who go and work in an office and then they have to go to a gym to work out. I get to work out all day, and I stay healthy, and I
Yeah.
love my job. And like he was really good at, unsticking the machinery. He liked the challenge of figuring out what was going wrong, figuring out how to get the best lumber out of a log and stuff like that. He was into it. He was totally into it. He loved his job. He wouldn't wanted to do anything else. And I'm like, man, I would not love that job.
I think it goes back to right, just knowing kind of who you are, what matters, and where can I bring that to life.
Yeah.
It's I talked about the my favorite gas guy, the guy who pumps my gas at the gas station, right? He's been a gas station attendant for 35 years, 36 years. He loves it, and I'm like, that's such a long time, He's like, I love it because I get to make people's day happier. That's my job. That's my job. It looks like I'm putting gas in your car, but that's not my job. My job is I get to make so many people's day happier. I'm like, that's awesome. Like he loves it, loves it. And I think he's just really clear about, obviously he knows how much money does he need to live on? What really matters in his life? How does this work? And he is happy.
I think that's the other thing too. Like for those of us who are drawn to self-employment or starting a business, we cannot imagine wanting to have a job. It's
Yeah.
like I swear, everybody I talk to it's like their worst case scenario is they have to give up the business and get a job. It's like that's the thing that's kind of hanging over their head as a negative consequence is I might have to get a job, and we start to think that everybody is like us. And it's not true. Most people don't want to do this.
It's
Most people would rather have the security. They would rather have a job that feels more in alignment with who they are and what they want out of life. That fits better. That's their cake recipe,
yeah,
includes a job that uses their talents that they enjoy doing and is in a great work environment. It's like, what's wrong with that?
exactly.
But we sometimes get into this thing. It's like, oh, I'm the only one who wants to do this, and therefore the entire world is my competitor. Everybody's going to want to do this thing that I want
Yeah,
to do because it's so much fun. And it's not true, because there are people that like counting boards and pumping gas and cleaning houses and building houses, doing construction work. My brother-in-law does construction work. He loves it. I had
yeah.
two uncles that were mechanics. They loved it. It's like, you do what you do. My brother makes springs for a living. You should hear him talk about springs. He is a spring expert. Loves it.
Right? It's finding the thing that works for you.
Yeah.
And not trying to fit into somebody else's mold or trying to shove someone else into yours.
Yeah.
I see someone was asking, what does the icing on the cake represent? I would say the icing and the decoration starts to come on there when you start to find the things that start to work. You've done some experimentation and there's like, ooh, here's a little piece. I really like this. Ooh, maybe it's a little bit of sprinkles. Ooh, that worked really well. Here's my little cookie. Like it's things start to come together, and it's those extra little add-ons that we're putting in there when there's some flow and we're like, yeah, okay. And then it's like, no, that cookie's coming off.
I think too, that amazing moment when you first get paid to do something you would totally do for free.
Totally. That's just like, what?
It's like, wow, you want to pay me to have fun?
People actually pay me for this? Wow. That's amazing.
And then you find out the other person doesn't think it's fun. They don't know how to do it. They're not good at it. And you realize, oh, wow, a marketable skill. I did not know it.
Exactly. Sometimes I think things are like that too. Like even if I think about the lady with the dirt, like I really don't think she probably woke up one day and thought, hey, I just really love composting stuff and making dirt. It's just like, oh, no, it was probably more of a problem. I've got the compost. What am I going to do with all the dirt?
Exactly.
Detroit's a pretty big city, I'm thinking. So, like, whoa, what do I do with this dirt?
Yeah.
I'll sell it.
High quality problem, yeah.
Exactly. I think it shows up that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you say we had workshop questions?
Yeah, we had questions about the workshop, whether there's a cap to the number of people that we're taking for it. And it's like, this is going to be a small workshop. I cannot imagine a scenario where we would have more people signed up than we felt was a good number. So tell your friends, invite friends, come to the workshop. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be super awesome.
Yeah, so it's going to be different. Georgie and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, this is a very different workshop than the ones we've done in the past. It is definitely going to be a doing and experiential thing, but it's not going to be a teaching workshop so much as a discovering workshop.
Yeah.
This is going to be about you. It's going to be about reflecting and discussing. There's no, we never have a test, but there isn't really going to be a test here. But other than, hey, does this seem like you? Does this look like it's going to make you happy? Are you excited about this? That kind of thing. But a chance to really to dig in and reflect. And I'm thinking about this too, kind of, we often talk about this thing about a cycle, right? It's just, if you were to plant things in order, this workshop would be like, okay, number one, figure out what you want and what makes you happy and develop your business from the inside out. That would be step want. Step 2 would be to build that, create all the structures that you need for it, your sales and marketing system, your marketing plan, your business plan, your offers, all of that stuff. Then step 3 would be to be taking the action on it, putting it out there and all that. But the reality is that it's more like a cycle, and you can kind of hop on it every time at kind of at any place. And this is what people do. They start off building something, then they discover, oh, maybe that's not really what I want to do. Or they start out trying to market something and they're having trouble with the marketing. Or they start out creating something in their imagination. They put it out in the world and they go, oh, it's not what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I think it's a discovery cycle. So even if you've been doing your thing for a while, even if you feel happy about the thing that you're doing, I think it's helpful to revisit this on a regular basis to see if anything else comes up, to take in the information that you've learned from putting it out there, from your experience with your clients. And in fact, it'd be a richer experience and probably more valuable if you've been out there doing some stuff for a while, because you'll have a lot more data than if you're just coming in and you've never done a business before. Useful in both cases, but a different experience. And I think taking this time on a regular basis to do this kind of inner reflection is really smart, especially when you start getting going with stuff. It can be really easy to be kind of let off track here and there. And it's a chance to kind of recenter yourself a little bit. So I'm excited about doing this. And a little bit nervous because I've got no idea how it's going to turn out, There's very little slide deck involved,
Yeah, I think we sometimes get sort of stuck in just how we think our life is, and we don't often reflect and go, oh, right, I might actually be at a different stage now. I might have learned some different things. Some things I thought were important aren't so important anymore. And we just don't take that time to sort of slow down and really do some reflection into that about what is it that I really want, or what does life want from me? That's my latest question. What does life want from me? Let me look around. Let me see, how am I showing up? What's showing up for me? Where do I feel pulled to or pushed from, or all of those kind of things. And until I slow down, I'm just too busy going and not paying any attention, and I'm not really present to what's working, what's not working. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're miserable and unhappy and you're wondering what the hell happened to your life. It's like, what? Wait a second. I wanted a cake and now I have a pie. How did that happen?
Oh, pie is good. I wanted a cake and I got liver and onions, so that's something else, right?
That's something really different. I don't know how you didn't notice when that turn happened, but yeah. Very true. No. Yeah, it's gonna be good. And sometimes I think that's why workshops like this sometimes are really great too, because it's just, you set this time aside, you go through the things and you do it. Because we often have the best of intentions and we just don't quite get there, especially for the inside stuff. It's like, it'll wait. I need to make a sale. It'll wait. We just don't do it.
Yeah, I really should answer these questions sometime. Really should take some time to reflect.
Yeah,
later.
That would be good. And maybe I'll just write them down, and then that's about all the time I have now. I'll come back to them. Yeah, that's for sure. Oh, it's all good. Sometimes they have a conflict on the Saturday. It's life, and I'm pretty sure it'll happen again.
Yeah. We don't know.
Really sure, but I'm pretty sure on that one. Pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure that will happen. I like this. Stop cleaning before the maid comes. Yay. That's right. That's right.
It's kind of interesting. makes me think of that the episode where you talked about being in the 3 different positions, right?
Yes.
It's like seeing things from our own experience versus, okay, what's their experience of this, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. Also, will you have some set times for breaks during the workshop? We will have breaks during the workshop. Do we know exactly what time those will be at this particular moment? No.
What we did last time. So we had somebody that needed a break at a certain time. So we're like, okay, we're going to have a break at this time.
That's right. It's all about flexibility.
We are totally all about flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. We can make it happen. As long as people, if you ask, it's amazing what can occur when we know. So yes, approximately general times would be useful.
Okay.
There'll be a lunch break.
Yeah, we generally take a lunch break roughly in the middle of it.
Yeah. So yeah, we can work on that. That's for sure. So yeah. Any other questions, thoughts?
There were a there were a couple of questions about the missing episode.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yes. I wasn't happy with how last week's episode went. However, considering that Georgie has referenced a couple of things that I said last week, I'm like, okay, I think we are going to post the recording, and I'm going to write a little disclaimer to go with it. One of the things that happens sometimes, I found myself like halfway through it going, that's not what I wanted to say. It's all coming out wrong. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to say exactly what I was saying or in the way I was saying it. So, however, I think some of the core content in it is in alignment, and so we'll post it with a little disclaimer. Next week, I'm going to share my progress to date on my U-shaped business personality project that I've been working on, and share some details about what that is, where it's going to go, the intention behind this personality, kind of like a business personality. It's about like what shape is your business, to help clarify some of these questions that Georgie was talking about today around your business model and what you do and how you approach marketing, to find the things, the businessy kind of things that fit better for you. So I've identified 6 different categories, 6 different shapes for U-shaped businesses, and they're similar but different. As I was writing I'm creating a quiz, like a test to go through to find out which shape you are. And as I'm writing it, I'm like, man, this is going to be hard to answer. And I think that that's good because it's kind of nuanced about figuring out, okay, where are you in this? And so I think some of the questions are going to be challenging to answer, but also helpful. I think it's going to be helpful. I've been looking at different businesses and been kind of like typing them. It's like, oh, that's that shape. Oh, that's that shape. And it's like, okay, this is cool. So I'm going to share that next week. And that is going to be a big focus of the Sunday on the workshop. I want to give people the experience of going through that and figuring out what their shape is, and how that can fit in with the whole discovery. So I'm going to share that.
It's going to be very exciting, very awesome, very, 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 very awesome.
And thank you for the encouraging note here. Good, setting a good example by posting it, because sometimes things don't come out quite right. Yeah. And this is one of the things that holds me back from putting stuff out. It Part of why doing this show is a bit of a challenge is that I'm often putting forward content without having enough time to procrastinate and think and reflect. And I often worry that as I grow and evolve and learn and add new stuff, that I'm going to contradict myself in the future. This is the first time it's happened mid-show. There are episodes where I'm like, oh, things have shifted since I talked about that 3 months ago, and I can accept that. But when it's mid-show, I'm like, Patty, what are you saying?
Wait a second, I don't think I agree with myself. Hang on.
I'm disagreeing with myself. What? That's not what I think. That's not really. Is that what I'm saying?
Is that what I really think? Not really. Hang on a second. Redo. I think we have a permission slip somewhere. You are allowed to change your mind.
I know I've put that permission slip out there. And in fact, if I had one wish for our polarized world right now, would be that we valued and appreciated when people learn something new, decide to be different, decide to change their mind. I think so much of the shame that we heap on people for changing their mind or flip-flopping or whatever, like that's what's holding us back from progressing. Is to progress means you will change your mind. You will learn new things. You will change your perspectives. You'll say, nope, I don't think that anymore. I used to think that, but I don't think that anymore. I got new information. I got new data. I'm changing my mind. And I think that's if we could kind of admire that in people, I think we'd have a very, very different world.
So different. And I think, if we could remember that we change our mind and other people change their mind. And so often we hold people to the identity that we have of them the last time we saw them or the last time we talked to them, and that's just who they are. And we paint them with that brush instead of being able to see them with new eyes and being curious and being like, hey, so tell me what's new, and really coming from that place, being open to, they may have changed their mind. They may be a completely different person now than they were when you saw them 2 days ago, because they, received some information, had a change of heart, of opinion, of something like that. But we like to put people into the box. Oh, I know her. Oh, I know what she does. Oh, I know what she's like. No, you don't. You knew what she was like in that moment. You do not know now. And I think the more we can hold people in that space, the kinder our world would be. We would be so much more open to caring and empathy, and people would, I think, be a little more willing to step forward and say, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking over there. Like something else just came over me, but now I think this. But so often we don't do that. And it would be really, really awesome if we did. If we saw every person as the magical little being that they are, all fresh and shiny and new, and we knew nothing, it would be awesome. Like that, what is that movie, the 51st Dates or whatever, where she can't remember the day, every day is different, or Groundhog Day or whatever it is. But just imagine if like we could literally be that curious every day instead of holding people to things that they have done that they might do differently now. Like, it would be awesome.
It would indeed.
So, yeah. On that
note, we
will be kind.
Go be kind. And we will see you next week. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.
Bye now.
Bye.